Hi, happy Monday. This is Menopause Chicks Mondays. My name is Shirley Weir. I'm the founder of Menopause Chicks. I wanted to pop into your inbox today to talk about two things: seatbelts and starfish. Now, let me tell you why seatbelts and starfish are on my mind today. About 6 months ago, I was having dinner with my daughter, both my kids, and we were talking about things that used to be that are no longer. And the conversation turned to seatbelts. My kids could not believe their ears when they heard that we did not used to wear seatbelts in the early 70s. In fact, I can remember standing in the car beside my mom as she was driving down a big hill into my hometown. And every once in a while, she would put her arm out just to make sure that I didn't fall forward into the dash or worse, through the windshield. The purpose of having this conversation about things that used to be and the way they are now and how different it is now is that it is different now. And one of the things I speak about whenever I talk about the unspoken truths about menopause is that no one really owns menopause, at least not in the way the brand Volvo decided or chose to own safety, vehicle safety, and seatbelts. So we'll just quickly share that story with you. In 1959, Volvo's engineers invented the three-point harness seatbelt as we know it today. It was easier, it was safer, and as I said, it's just really hard for us to imagine a vehicle in 2021 that isn't equipped with this technology, as well as anyone that would not use it. And this invention led to the universal adoption across all auto manufacturers. In fact, it was Volvo's president, who was an engineer himself, who had suffered personal loss from a motor vehicle accident that, he lost someone he loved who wasn't wearing the three-point harness seatbelt. And so Volvo owned the patent. They could have licensed it to other auto manufacturers. They could have charged. They could have withheld intellectual property. But instead, they chose to give it away. It was their gift to all auto manufacturers, and that mass adoption saved lives, continues to save lives. And so the point that I find really interesting is that in order for that shift to happen, and I realize we're talking 40, 50, 60 years ago, and even I can remember having seatbelts in the car but not wearing them. My husband has a classic car that only has the two-point harness, but every other vehicle that I've been in my life since then has the three-point harness seatbelt as we know it today. So it's not new. But what's been interesting in this historical story is to think everyone knew the scientific data and the statistics about how seatbelts save lives. But it took more than scientific data. It took a cultural shift. It took modeling. It took new laws and law enforcement. It's not enough just to present the research or the scientific data. It takes much more than that to influence human behavior. So how does this relate to menopause? Well, as I mentioned, there really is no brand that owns menopause, if you will. There are a lot of brands and organizations that want to market to women in this demographic, but not in the way that Volvo owned safety. And because there are so many gaps in information and health research, or lack thereof, we've kind of landed at this place of, and this is a double entendre, but it's like, who cares about women's health? Who cares about women's health? Yes, I know there are people like you and me who care about women's health, but then if you look at it from the other tongue-in-cheek perspective, it's like, who cares about women's health the way Volvo cared about safety, vehicle safety, and seatbelts. And what can we do to close the gap that exists in women's health research? And so much of the cultural norm that has now become wearing a seatbelt, how can we make women's midlife health have that same priority, that same adoption across society, across our cultures? I don't know the answer to these questions, but it's certainly one of the things that keeps me up at night. And I'm going to be inviting some organizations in the coming days and the coming months who want to help you and us address these questions. Okay, second topic, starfish. What the heck? Here's a story about starfish that came to my awareness this weekend, and I'm actually going to read it to you. You might have heard this one, but I find that it doesn't hurt to be reminded of it every once in a while. So first, let me tell you the story, and then I'd love it if you reply to this email and tell me what you think about it. Once upon a time, there was an old man who used to go to the ocean to do his writing. He had a habit of walking on the beach each morning before he began his work. Early one morning, he was walking along the shore after a big storm had passed and found the vast beach was littered with starfish as far as the eye could see, stretching in both directions. Off in the distance, the old man noticed a small boy approaching. As the boy walked, he paused ever so often, and as he grew closer, the man could see that he was occasionally bending down to pick up an object and throw it back into the sea. The boy came closer still, and the man called out, "Good morning. May I ask what it is that you're doing?" The young boy paused, looked up, and replied, "I'm throwing starfish into the ocean. The tide has washed them up onto the beach, and they can't return to the sea by themselves." The boy replied, "When the sun gets high, they will die unless I throw them back into the water." The old man replied, "But there must be tens of thousands of starfish on this beach. I'm afraid you won't really be able to make much of a difference." The boy bent down, picked up yet another starfish, threw it as far as he possibly could back into the ocean. And then he turned, smiled, and said to the man, "It made a difference for that one." We all have the opportunity to create positive change. I know as a 30-year marketer that it's impossible to be all things to everyone or to every starfish. But I've certainly fallen into the trap of trying to do so. We're all really busy, and I want to make a difference for all women who want to put themselves at the top of the to-do list and prioritize their health. I can't do it alone. I just wanted to use this starfish story as an example and a way for me to express my gratitude for the accolades that you provide Menopause Chicks, for the referrals, for the friends that you invite to come and enjoy and join our community. I can't thank you enough. We are making a difference, one starfish at a time. Have a great week, everyone. Please do reply to this email and let me know what you'd like to talk about next week.